Yes, doctor, we can start the session.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Hello. Good evening, everyone. Glad to see all of you today, this Thursday evening. And warm welcome to today's session. The session is on navigating a noise, critical thinking, and problem solving strategies. So, this is what we are going to discuss in the next 1 hour. So, to begin with the session, I have included 3 pictures here in this slide. And my question to our audience is observe this picture very closely and see what's wrong with this picture. You can unmute yourself and you can tell, or you can send it in the chat. What's wrong with these pictures? I have included 3 pictures, 1 picture on the side and the other 2 pictures on the right hand side. Yes, I can see the llamas. Yes, go ahead. Llamas, yes, I can see your hands up. I'm not sure whether I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Yes, you can unmute yourself. I can't hear anything, or is it she is typing something?
Hi, Lam. Yes, we cannot hear you.
I don't know if somebody is speaking or are there any problem? I'm not okay. Yeah, I can see something here. Yes, Lamas, you wanted to say something. I can see your hands up. Or you can type in the chat. Okay, let me just see. I think I'm getting some messages. All right, let me check that. Okay, some images appear to move even though they are still. Okay, others hide faces or objects. The puzzle pieces make, right, okay. We saw pictures and puzzles. All right, okay, okay. Missing information or finding solutions. All right, okay. Yes, few more responses, You can type it. Yeah, let me keep the slides. All right, no proper questions based on images. Yes, I just said, right, yeah, what's wrong with, these pictures? Everything can fit in if you choose to fit them in, right? Rubina is asking what to answer. What's wrong with these pictures? That is what my question. All right, okay. So now my question is like, what's wrong with this picture? So first thought process gone into,
Can you
let's
hear me
say
now?
there is something
Can you
wrong
hear me now?
and we need to
Can you
identify
hear me?
what is that wrong thing in these pictures. Correct?
Can you hear me?
Right? When I'm saying this, what are the first
Doctor,
things that
sorry.
you have noticed? Yes, Nora,
Can
are
you
you
hear me?
trying to say something or are you typing
Limits.
something?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Yes.
you.
Okay, for
Um,
this one, I think the wrong thing with these pictures that
Pardon, I
uh,
can't hear properly.
that each one can see it from a different
Not
perspective.
not clear instructions. Yes. What is that wrong
Yeah.
thing that you need to identify? Agreed. All right. Yes. Okay. Now, the moment I said, what do you think or what is wrong with this? Your thought process, you started thinking. Okay. And your majority of your thought process is aligned to identify that wrong, that mistake, which probably you can find it in the picture. Right. Now, if you analyze, you can say that what are the things that you notice first in these three pictures? You can question yourself, right? Then, did you try to compare the picture one, picture two, and picture three? And did you consider a different perspective? Say, for example, did you believe that, or did you, try to align your thought process just because I said what is wrong with that picture? Right? There can be something wrong. It can be absolutely fine, right? So that is what is all about, the thinking process. It's one of the important, or I can say the fantastic abilities that the human brain as human beings that we are blessed to have. So in today's session, I'm going to talk about two of these abilities. One is the critical thinking, and the other one is the problem solving. So now, let me just start from the title. Why I thought about the title, the session, as moving from. If you go back, my session is it's navigating the noise. Why did I choose such a title? We are all in a digital era. And to be more specific, the AI it's in very much in place in every box of our life. So in this digital era, as learners, we ourselves, and of course, if we are dealing with our students, all kinds of learners, we have no restrictions on the information that we can process. Okay. In earlier times, it was only through the elders or from the books or the teachers, or the resources were limited. Now the resources are not limited at all. The information overload is one of the biggest issues. And with AI in power, we know that many times we can get the misinformations also, be it pictures or facts or any information that AI generated. AI can very well, fool us, and then it leads to emotional manipulations many times. Then the people are struggling with the attention span. They don't have the patience. You can analyze yourself. We wanted the informations very quick, fast. We can't wait, right? The pace is that's quite faster. So it is, we all, or our younger generations especially, falling with the problem of attention span. And again, poor decision making habits. Poor decision making, why it is? To a greater extent, we are overloaded with informations, resources, so it is very difficult for everyone to arrive at a decision, because every second we have something or the other informations to process. So in today's world, as teachers or as mentors, it's very important that we develop analytical and the reflective skills within ourselves and also among the learners. So in today's session, we are going to look at what exactly the critical thinking and the problem solving. I'm not going to talk so much about that, but we'll be moving towards how we can develop these, the critical thinking and problem solving, especially when we have so much of the digital tools and influence in our own lives. Now, the first one is what exactly the critical thinking, critical thinking. Now, in the first exam, the picture example, what I have given, just many of us follow the instruction just like that. As I said, like what's wrong with this picture or in this picture. So We fix our thought process as I need to find something wrong because the instruction has gone like that. What is wrong with the picture? But some of us must have thought like, okay, let me just see the picture and then I'll decide there is something wrong or not. Just because the person said there is something wrong or identify the mistake, not be there is a mistake, right? So to think beyond the instruction given or the uncommon thought process comes only when there is a critical thinking. So asking meaningful questions, should I look at the picture or should I only focus on those mistakes or wrong in that picture? Should I consider the other's perspective or can I have my own? What is the authenticity of the information? Is it right or not? All of these includes the critical thinking. So evaluating the evidence, identifying the assumptions, analyzing the different perspectives, right? Making recent decisions and reflecting the outcomes. So together, you can see that you are developing the critical thinking skills. And another, the flagship of the skills that we have, or the human brain has got the problem solving abilities or the problem solving skills. And we know that when there is a problem, the smaller or a bigger problem, we try to find a solution. When there is a problem, there should be a solution, and we follow a step-by-step procedure. The steps are there. It goes like you identify and define the problem, you analyze the problem, develop potential solution, evaluate the options, then select the best option, implement that solution, and measure the results. So that problem can be a very small one, or it can be the larger problem. So to give you an example, like I have seen many teachers in the educational setup or the elders even, complaining about the students' distraction or I mean, even I have seen the parents talking about the poor attention span or the students, especially in an online platform, the classroom discipline, poor students' response. All of these are the different problems, right? So even you are identifying the problem as a problem is very important. What is the nature of the problem? Whether it is severe or whether it is a practically solvable problem. So you defining the problem in detail, analyzing the problem, the root causes of that problem, what are the possible solutions, right? And then coming to the potential solution A, solution B, or solution C. And out of the different solutions, when you are evaluating, the which one would be the best solution, implementing that and selecting that is what you're selecting and implementing that solution. And then you see the outcome, how it is working or not. That is again a very important thing. And that is how you're arriving at a solution. And that is what I said. You identifying a problem as a problem, understanding the nature of the problem, you analyze, you gather all the informations related to that problem so that you can have multiple options to options for the potential solutions. And then out of all these solution, the solution options, you choosing one which you feel that it is the right one or the best suitable one. That is again very important, and you implement and see how it is helping or whether the problem can be solved completely or is it partially, right? So that is it requires a set of skills, and that collectively we call it or identify that as a problem solving skills. Now let me just move to the further details of this problem solving and the critical thinking skills. Now, in the educational framework, we know that we look at a complete holistic development of the learners. So we have something called the educational framework, which is Bloom's taxonomy, which gives us a clear guidelines how the learning should be, right? The achievable, the outcomes, how we have to look at it. So that is moving from remember the simple learning to the highest level. So which can be translated as the remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating. Hi, I'm sorry. I don't know how come the call dropped. I hope, yeah, right. Okay. So, the educational frameworks clearly tell us how the learning process should be conducted or how this should be carried out. That's from the lower levels of the cognitive abilities, that is from the remembering, which is a very shallow level, that is moving from that shallow level to the higher and the deeper levels of learning. That's moved from the remembering to understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and the create, which we all are quite familiar with. Right. Now, as teachers or as a mentor, some of us, and I understand that some of us are not teachers. So in that cases, this would help us even in our own learning process. So it's very important. Um, yeah, so it's very important as teachers or as mentors at what levels of education that we are, the learning process that we are focusing. So the remembering and understanding, and to some extent of the application level, it's a very shallow level of the learning. We have to help our learners, or when we put ourselves as learners, we should try to move beyond the application level. So this is the higher objectives of learning, right? And the critical thinking and problem solving skills that definitely requires the application part of the learning, or that is a higher cognitive abilities. So we need to understand the different strategies that we can use it, so that our students or we even ourselves can develop the the critical thinking and problem solving abilities. Now, the critical and the problem solving abilities that requires, a deeper understanding. So when you are looking at developing those skills among your learners, or even within yourself, what are the ways that you can nurture, you can develop that? There are different strategies that we can use it. If you are a teacher, then questioning is one of the important ways. What, how, when, why? You keep on asking why, then definitely you are going to think more about it. And of course, you are going to help your students also to think more, and that eventually help them to think more critically, or they will help, that will help the children to be more creative, and they identify the problems. Now, another one is think, pair, share. So that is a collaborative learning techniques, which would help them to again think practically, and so that and collectively along with their peers, that would allow them to think beyond or much deeper levels, so that will enable them developing the critical and the problem solving skills. Debate and discussion circles. Now, we can have multiple perspectives, right? We get influenced by, the others' perspectives or not. That is what I asked in the beginning. Like, what is wrong? Okay, just because one person said there is something wrong, am I trying to focus on identifying that mistake, or that, that incorrections which are there in the picture, or whatever it is, or am I going to have my own thought process related to, that picture or whatever? Right. So the debate, where in debate you are trying to challenge your own thought process. You're not simply agreeing to your own thought process nor the other person's thought process. So again, you are agreeing or disagreeing the thought process with a concrete evidence. So that would help us in developing the critical thinking and the problem solving abilities. And another one is the case based learning, the scenario based learning, right? So identifying the scenarios or identifying the cases and use those cases for the proper learning. Using the cases or scenarios as examples, which would allow the children to transfer the learning into their real life situations. And another one important thing is the reflection journals. What exactly the reflections are we doing that reflections on a day-to-day basis? It is very important that we reflect and we write it, we note it down in our diaries or in our journals. That journaling and reflection is again another important the strategy that you can use it. And inquiry based learning, project-based learning. So all of these are the different ways through which you can develop the critical thinking and the problem-solving skills within yourself, and even with the learners. Even when you are in a corporate world, your team members, when you have a the problem, that as team leader you can definitely adopt these strategies so that your team can be guided very well to sort the or find the best solution. So that's what the Socrates thinking, as I said, teachers, or as a mentor you can ask, so what evidence support this? Why do you say this? What made you to think like this? Right, are you considering any other perspective, or on what grounds that you think this is right or this is wrong? Right, what would be the consequences? Do you have any idea what would be the outcome? Right, what were the assumptions that you are having? So when these kind of questioning, that will help us to think more deeper, and so the reflection and the reasoning will happen. And that is what the advantages of you asking right questions. And say, as mentors or as leaders or as teachers, the questioning is one of the important the techniques, I would say, which you can use it to evoke the thought process among the individuals. The moment you ask questions, or even you can encourage the audience to ask questions. So then what happens, like asking a question, though it sounds very simple, it is not a simple one, right? You have to choose the right the question, and you have to make an effort to make it clear, precise, and you need to ask. So it is very well help an individual to put on the cap, I mean the thought process. So it's a very good strategy that you I mean the moment you interact with your learners, you can keep on asking questions to them. And maybe sometimes you have to reframe, or you have to give more cues or prompts, or more ideas for the students to, or the learners to think, or to get more clarity on what you're asking. However, the questions would definitely help you to I mean, ignite the thoughts among our learners. And the one is the ideal model, that is one model. What I mean by that ideal model is identify the problem, define the goals, explore strategies, act on solutions, and look back and learn. So this is one of the important the strategy that you can use it for critical thinking and problem solving. And another one is like the design thinking for schools. So what exactly the design thinking, what involves in that is like empathize, right? You understand someone else's problem and you try to understand the nature of it, exactly it is. So you defining that and try to ideate, create a prototype, and you test it and make sure that it is working or not. Otherwise, you repeat it. So that would help in critical thinking and in problem solving skills. An example, students redesign the learning environment to reduce stress and improve collaboration. Right now, because of the AI and the social media in real life, our students, and some of them, I'm not generalizing, some of them have the problems of they experience the social anxiety. They don't want to interact with many people. So what do you think about it? How we can find a solution to it? What are the ways that we can help such students or such individuals to come out of it? So it is a real problem, which we can ask our students. How are you going to support your friend who is having the social anxiety or who doesn't want to interact? So that is where you can help those children to develop the critical and the problem solving thinking. And another one is the strategies are active listening. Now, question yourself: how many of us have got that patience to listen to someone else? We can listen to the podcast, we can listen to the musics, we can listen everything, but then honestly, um, you question yourself, how many of us can actively listening is different and active listening is different. The active listening only will lead to problem solving or the critical thinking. Then the collaboration, how many of us are ready to collaborate with our peers, our team members, right? Are we ready for that? And our willingness to collaborate and our willingness to perspective taking. Do we have mentors? Do we seek the guidance from someone? Do we discuss things with people? And how about taking someone else's perspective? I'm not saying that go by those perspective, but then there is no problem in taking the perspectives of others. That would help us in getting things more clear. And then what about our emotional intelligence? Our own emotional intelligence and that of the learners or our team members or the people around. Are we really working on the emotional intelligence? Right. When I'm talking about the emotional intelligence, it includes understanding, yourself, that is your self-awareness and your self-management, how well you can manage your emotions and the expression of those emotions, both the positive and the negative emotions. And what about the reflective dialogue? And another one important strategy that you can develop is metacognition. It is in simple terms, I can say that metacognition is thinking about thinking. Right. So the way how I'm thinking, you thinking about the process of your thinking. So that is what is metacognition. Right. Say, for example, if I'm teaching a poem, how am I teaching that poem? How did I learn that poem? How I understood that poem? And what are the different ways I try to make my students understand? Did I cover the poem completely? Did they get the central idea or the values or the themes that is running in the poem? Right? Whether that poem, my teaching helped them developing that appreciation towards that literature work or what exactly it is, or that process of me thinking about my own thinking style as what is the metacognition. That is a very important way of developing critical and the analytical thinking among ourselves, and of course that we can develop among our learners or our team members. And another one is the peer feedback. Are we ready for accepting the feedback it's given by our colleagues or our students or our friends or whoever is willing to give that feedback? Of course, how we respond to those criticism, are we ready for that? We take it into consideration or not? So that again would, those kind of reflection on your critical, on your feedback given by somebody else would definitely help us in developing our critical thinking and the problem solving abilities. Now, as I said, the metacognitive thinking, it is very important that we develop these metacognitive thinking abilities within ourselves as teachers or as team leaders or as mentors. And again, this should be something that we should encourage our children also to do it, because many times they complain that, teacher, I studied well but I forgot. Right? Why did that child who studied forgot? Right? What is wrong with that learning process? So this is what exactly we try to do it in the metacognition. So as teachers, if we help our children to identify the reasons why they couldn't remember or why they forgotten something they studied, and that would help them to go back and check, okay, how did I study? Did I write it or did I read it? Is it only, I was just flipping through the content or just browsing through the content? Did I pay attention? Did I understand the content very well? So that would help our children to develop the metacognitive abilities, which would help them to break the many difficult things related to their the studies. Now, the students can reflect on, what do I know? Right. I studied science. Okay. So what did I study? Or I learned a language, or I learned mathematics today. So what did I learn? How did I learn that? Right. What are the strategies I used it for studying the topic A and topic B? And how my retention level with respect to those topics. Right. So am I confused about anything? Am I clear with my learning? Right. And if I'm confused, how can I improve that? Right. So if it is not allowing me, not helping me with my retention, there is something wrong with my learning process. So what exactly it is? So these are the things that we as teachers or as leaders, we can help in our children. And of course, today, as I said, we are in the digital world era, and there is a whole lot of the tools, the digital tools, especially we can use it for developing critical thinking and creative abilities, the problem solving abilities within our students. And I'm sure some of us are very familiar with, and we have been, many of you must be using it also. And unfortunately, because of the time constraint, I'm not able to go into the details of how these works, but definitely these are some of the tools, and I'm sure many of us know much more than these. So I listed very few ones. Say, for example, the Padlet, that is collaborative brainstorming. That would be a wonderful tool that you can try it. And Mentimeter, I'm sure if there are teachers here in this group, they would be using it. So that can be used for live polls and reflections and everything. And then the Canva, you can use it for presentations, then idea generation and idea mapping, and all that can be used it. And say, for example, you wanted to give them some inquiry-based task, you can send them out the Google Forms. And another one is the Kahoot, right? The analytical quizzes and quizzes can be given. And then the Miro. Miro is again a wonderful collaborative problem solving tool, which you can do the live tracking with our students. And that would, again, help our children to develop the creative and critical thinking abilities. Now, when you're using the online or the digital tools, and specifically, it is very important that we are evaluating whether it is a reliable source, whether that tool serve the purpose it's supposed to, whether it is a reliable and a valid tool. So especially when you're giving your students, let's say, some projects or some kind of collaborative activities, or when they use the tools, our guidance and our mentoring is very, very important. And so when you're using that, you can give them a rubrics wherein they would be checking on the tool, whether it is a current one, the latest one, how relevant it is, and the authority of those informations, the accuracy of those informations, and the purpose of the using that tool or that information. That is very, very important. So you can ask the children, when they choose a certain, the information from the digital resources, or if they are using certain digital tools, they can follow a quick test like the CRAP test, which will make them to understand like they are choosing the right information. Otherwise, there will be a lot of information. As I said, the information overload is one of the biggest the challenge or the problem that we are facing. So the amount of information that they are using or processing, and the relevance of those information, whether that information is the latest one, the current one or not, and what about accuracy of those information, and whether those informations are really, serving the purpose of what they are supposed to do it. And that is very important when it comes to you trusting on the digital resources. And another thing that we can rely on is various collaborative classroom activities. As teachers or as team members, the collaboration, the networking and collaboration is very important in today's world. Without you having a collaborative networking, the efforts, the team efforts, the success is difficult, I would say, because many things you can achieve when you have a collaborative team effort. So you can use many interactive activities, and I'm sure we as the team members or as leaders or as teachers, we have been using it. Like some of them are like the escape room challenges, scenario-based discussions, or mystery problem solving, the role play, the gallery walks, the team design challenges. All of these are the different interactive activities that you can provide to your students or your team members, wherein they identify their team, they identify the resources that is required, they identify the roles, and the delegation of the work against the resources and the time available, and they would be able to give you brilliant the outcome based on the activities that they do it. And as teachers, that would develop many other the social skills and the soft skills that otherwise not possible or difficult to develop in today's generation. And as I said before, learning from the real life examples, the cases or a scenario, it is very much important. Okay, now let me just give you right. There is a drop in the call. All right. Okay. Yep. So I mean, I have seen many teachers complaining about the disengagement. The students are not ready to engage when there is an online meeting going on or when the classes are online. So pulling each one of them, getting an answer from those students or involving them in an activity, it's very, very difficult, and major challenge the teachers in today's world they are facing. And even in the corporate world, when they have training sessions happening online, that again causing a lot of trouble to the trainers or the experts who are giving the sessions and things like that. So the engagement, from the students or from the participants or the audience is difficult. Now, this is a real problem that all of us are facing. Maybe the intensity is the only difference that you can find it. Now, how are we going to use this in developing the critical and the problem solving abilities among our students or the team members? You need to identify what are the root causes of this engagement. Analyze. You just don't generalize it just because you heard your principal saying, your colleague saying. Is it really happening in your class or in your session, right? And if it is, it's really happening, collect the data so that you can say and you can find out how much I mean, what's the intensity of that problem in your case. So you need to analyze the evidences, right? And then what are the possible solutions? Solution 1, solution 2, and solution 3. And then you can present your recommendation. If you go by the solution 1, these are the advantages, and it has got this disadvantages. Whereas if you go back with go and use the solution, let's say solution the C, probably the problems or the disadvantages that you identified for the first one can be taken care. Or what if a combination of the solution A and solution C or solution B, whatever it is. Now try to work on those, and then you find the outcome of it, and then if needed then you need to refine it. And that is how the real life situations would definitely help us. And another the way is like, as teachers we always find that, okay, I'm teaching well, my teaching is perfect, or as a trainer I'm excellent, I'm brilliant. Now it's a problem with the audience. Need not be, right? Our reflections, okay, if you are a teacher, our reflections on a day-to-day basis, and I would say immediately after every class, every session, you need to have your reflection. How often you do your reflections, that much you can polish your skills, and that would help you in developing your or refine your thought process. How often do students justify their thinking? You can say that you can, yeah, I mean, I'm sure you must be having responses like, teacher, I thought it this way. Right. Say it could be with their learning or with some instruction. It is as simple as that. And they try to justify their, mistakes or their performance, which when, especially when it is compromised, that is what. And they try to justify, I thought this is what you meant. Right. And then we need to analyze. Classroom questions promote analysis. Right. How often do we ask questions? As teachers or as learners, do we ask questions, and how often we ask questions? And if we ask questions, what are the kind of questions that we ask? And if you try to rate, put a rating on the quality of your question. Am I asking question just for the sake of asking, or is it to grab the attention, or is it really I wanted to seek the information or learn from that person? That is why I'm asking question, or I wanted to know more about that topic or whatever that we have been doing. So what is the quality of the questions, or how am I asking, how often I ask questions, right? And again, if you are a teacher, are you encouraging the questioning? And some teachers, unfortunately, they don't allow the children to question. And unfortunately, some of some teachers, they believe that if the students are asking question, they're trying to test the knowledge, the teacher's knowledge. No, it is not necessary, right? In today's scenario, you can see that the students are much more informative than us in many ways, right? And they also do their research, they also do their referencing, and then they come to the class. So we need to understand that there are other resources available to our students, and on that basis is what the questions they ask. And another thing I can ask you is like, are students allowed to fail safely and learn? How many of us are okay with the fact that my students can fail? And some of us can't digest or are simply not ready for our students' poor performance. Because I'm teaching, I know how well I'm teaching, and so they should be learning. They should be, performing very well. What is wrong with, if the student is failing? Right? Are we that judgmental, or are we allowing that kind of academic freedom to our students or our learners to learn in their own pace? And it is okay even if they fail, they don't understand. They have to learn things safely. They have to enjoy the learning process. And that is when that creative thinking, the critical thinking abilities would be developing it. Right. And again, if the students' performance are not up to your expectations, what are the things? You can't just say that, or don't conclude that it's not my problem. They did not pay attention, or they did not take any interest, nor the parents bothered about it. No, that is not the case. Right. We had that is a real problem that we need to find a solution. So today, when I'm concluding, let us understand the key takeaways. Critical thinking must be intentionally taught. We all have the ability to think, but the way we think is different. And critical thinking is not something which is unachievable or not possible. That can be very well trained. Only thing is that if we take a conscious efforts, then definitely you can develop those critical thinking among our students, so that we don't have to cry and say that yes, because of the information technology, or because of the AI, our students are poor in their critical thinking, or they are not ready to think, or it is taking away that ability from everyone. No, we can still. And that is why I thought of including some of those tools, that the digital tools that we can use it even for developing the critical thinking. And another one is the problem solving requires structure and the reflection. Every one in their life, small or big, we have come across several problems which requires a solution. So the problem solving is there in every individual, but to a greater extent, this can be nurtured. And digital literacy is essential today. We can't walk away from the revolutionary ideas or the technological advancement that is happening. We don't have to turn against the AI. It's not needed. But how can we make use of that for the benefit of our ourselves or our learners? And then, as teachers, we have to model the inquiry and reasoning. We need to stop the spoon feeding, allow the children to come up with out of box solutions, think on their own. So, as a teacher, it's my responsibility to inculcate that inquiry, inquisitiveness among our students. And then the collaboration. So, as I said, you learn many things when you discuss with your friends, your peers. Right. So they can learn many things along with their peers. And so we need to create a safe environment wherein they feel that, yes, it is safe for me to make mistakes. Even if I make the mistakes, there won't be any kind of, a shame associated with that failure or with that mistake. So when the learning is happening in such a safe environment, our students will definitely be ready for experimenting. And that experimentation is the way to take them forward in their critical thinking, and that would develop the reasoning abilities, the problem solving abilities, and the creative abilities among our students. And now, before opening the platform for questions, I just wanted to conclude saying that education is not the learning of facts, but the training of the mind to think. Right, it is said by Albert Einstein. And I would say that can we think about a human being who can't think at all? Do you think we can survive, or can we sit for a minute without thinking anything? It is very difficult. And in fact, with the whole lot of the noise around, it is very difficult for us to be quiet, controlling our mind, stop thinking. Right, when we are awake, we continuously think. And only thing is what we think and how we think. We need to train that, we need to polish that, and that is what we have to do it as individuals or even as our, that is what we have to help our children also. The way they should be thinking. There is a science behind thinking. There is a process behind thinking. There is a smartness behind thinking. And that is what we have to, develop among our students or our team members or even as individuals. We understand the science behind thinking so that you and me can think beautifully. So that beautiful thought process would help us in, sharpening our knowledge, understand things much better. And that is how we can create, a world with the learners who are ready to come up with the innovations, creativity, and things like that. Thank you so much. Thank you for being wonderful audience. If you have any questions, please you can unmute, or if you wanted to share something, you are free to do that. I think we have few minutes. Yes. Yeah, I can share when I'm checking here. Is the link between these pictures. All right. Okay. Are we allowed to use the verb understand and define? Yes. Yes. We are allowed. We should be using that because, when you are using those, the action verbs, that will help us in understanding what are the outcomes. It is directly connected to the outcome. So you can measure it. You can observe whether your students have achieved that or not. So definitely you can. The teacher and the school need to be firm in their roles and using devices. Yes, very much correct. Are we okay? Yes, thank you. All right. Oh, sure, I will pass the presentation to Miss Ivy, and she can definitely share with. All right. Any more questions or anything?
Thank you, Dr. Mary. I think they don't have any further questions.
All right. Okay. So thank you, Ivy. Thank you, everyone. All right. I think
Thank
we
you so much, ma'am.
Ivy. Yeah, most welcome.
Thank you so much.